Hello and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today we are going to talk about growing Paperwhite Narcissus in your home during the winter months. It's called forcing. So basically you are forcing the bulbs to bloom, kind of a funny term. The reason it's called forcing is you are basically tricking the plant into blooming for you indoors when it would normally bloom outdoors in the springtime. So by being in your warm house in the winter time, it thinks, oh, it's time to get blooming here. I love these plants to grow them. I grow them every winter time in my indoor garden. The scent from the beautiful Paperwhite blooms are absolutely, it's just wonderful. The plant itself has a very pretty foliage, as you can see in this picture here, and the beautiful white bloom. The more you plant, the more fragrant your indoors will be. It's just a very fun thing to do, and it's if you like beautiful scents in your home, it's wonderful for that as well. So today I'm going to show you how to easily and quickly plant them for blooming and tell you a little bit about what to do once you plant them. So this is for water forcing of Paperwhites, which works very well. You can also plant them in soil. That also works well. The thing to keep in mind with bulbs is that they don't need fertilizer. So they don't need a particular type of soil with a particular nutrients in it, because the bulb, and this is a Paperwhite Narcissus bulb right here, the bulb has all of the nutrition that it needs inside the bulb itself. It stores it in the bulb. When it begins to grow, it uses all of those nutrients up as it grows. So bulbs are this little package of everything they need to grow except for water or soil. So that's why you can also root them and have them bloom and grow for you in water or soil, because they have everything they need except for basically moisture. The Paperwhites, when you force them indoors, grow them indoors for the winter time. You can plant them outdoors after that, and they will naturalize outdoors, and depending on where you live, especially if you live in a warmer, more temperate climate, and come back year after that as well. Okay, so these are what are known as rooting jars for forcing bulbs, and you can see there's a narrower in the neck, that it becomes narrow, and that is so that, got a little bit of Paperwhite piece in there, that is so that the bulb will stay above the water. So you see the Paperwhite bulb here. A few little things on choosing Paperwhites. This is easier to do if you're doing it in person in a nursery rather than via mail order. But what you want to look for is firm bulbs. If they're squishy bulbs, they're past their prime, or they may even be rotting. They may have gotten a little wet. So you want nice, firm bulbs. Some of the paper can be falling off. That's fine. But what you want is the nice, firm bulb in there. It's also very good if you can see a little bit of the stem coming out there. You see that there, and it's a little bit on the green and white side, and that is also nice and healthy and firm. So those are good indicators of bulbs that are going to be very healthy for you. Also keep in mind, the bigger the bulb, the bigger the plant will be, the more blooms you will get. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Okay, we are going to fill one of these up, show you how to do this, how easy it is to do this. I did put in warm water. Your water will adjust to their room temperature. So if your room temperature is at 68, you're going to get your water at 68, which is fine. The plant will be adjust to that. Okay, so you can see this bulb here. There's roots what looks like roots down below, which they are, and then here's the top of the bulb. So you want to put it in on top, and you can see how it fits nicely in this one here. Now, what you want, however, is you do want the water up high enough where the roots here get moist, but you do not want to have the water touching the bulb itself. That will rot it. So what you want to do, if possible, if there's some root, do whatever you can to make the root come down a little bit like that once you've wet it, and stick it in. Let it sit there for a minute just to make sure, let it soak water up just to make sure that it isn't seeping into the bottom of the bulb itself. It's just hitting the roots. These aren't, as you can tell, are not see-through. If you have a see-through glass, it's easier. You can hold it up and eyeball it and make sure that the bottom of the bulb is not in the water. However, these are pretty festive ones here that aren't see-through, so that's fine too. I'm going to do the other two as well. So filling it up, like I said, so you can usually eyeball pretty good. I put in too much in that one, I can already tell. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of that. When they start growing, they will really suck up the water quickly. So you are going to need to refill the rooting jar on a regular basis. So you'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to check this guy here. So I am checking, I'm feeling around down here. I do not feel any wetness on the bulb itself, but these roots are definitely wet. So that is the perfect depth there. Okay, so I've got these three. Now there are different schools of thought on getting to forcing them. So one school of thought is to put them in a dark closet at this point, and then that simulates the long winter, and then you gradually pull them out of the closet, and they as if they are waking up during springtime. I have done it both ways. The other way is to simply put it in an area of your home where it's a little bit dimmer, so not in a really bright location, but a dimmer location. So not necessarily putting it in this dark closet where, honestly, frankly, the times I've done it, I have forgotten a few times. I used to also put them in my basement, which is another thing you can do, and then you just have to remember to go down there and check on it. But you can also put it in a dark corner and it will do the same thing. If you find that you feel like it's getting too much light, then do put it in something like a closet for a week or so. Once the stem itself is 2 to 3 inches high, then you want to take it out and get it into gradually into a brighter and brighter light, because if you don't, the foliage is going to flop too much, because you do want the foliage to grow up as much as possible, and then it will, in anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks, it will bloom for you and have a really beautiful white flower, as mentioned, that smells amazing for you. The variance and how long, it depends on your climate, how you're doing it, your light levels, as well as the bulb itself and how much nutrients were stored in that bulb and how good of a bulb you got. I got these from a very good nursery, so I have high hopes for them to do very, very well. I have, however, gotten them from different grocery stores and things like that, and they were smaller bulbs and they took a little bit longer, but they still did a really good job of blooming for me. As mentioned too, make sure to keep track of the water level, because you don't want the roots to dry out at any point. And do expect that the bulb will, as the roots fill the bottom of the pot, the bulb will start to raise itself some. That's okay, as long as you make sure that the roots, for the most part, are keeping moist. And you may have to stake them or hold them up somehow. It's harder in these pots than it is in soil, but because they do tend to get long and kind of floppy, the plants do. So that may be something that you need to do. You could probably stick a stake in the side. There's a little bit of room in this guy in the side to hold up the hold up and secure the stems as they come up. As mentioned, once they're done, you can plant them outdoors. If you live in a climate where the ground freezes, go ahead and plant them in potting soil, in a good potting soil, and grow them indoors. So once they're done blooming, then you're going to have the green, and they will continue to grow for a little while, and then once the foliage starts to die back, then you pull back on watering, and you stop watering when all the foliage is dry. And at that point, you have a dormant bulb that you can store in a cool, dry place until next year and use again, or plant in your garden in the springtime, and it will then bloom for you most likely in the spring as well that same year. So those are some things to keep in mind about how you can regenerate these bulbs. You can also toss the bulbs when you're done forcing them indoors as well, so that's also a possibility. One thing to keep in mind if you do want to regenerate them and use them again is you need to fertilize them once they've stopped blooming. So you want to fertilize them every 2 weeks or so with a bulb blooming liquid fertilizer once you've potted them into that pot as mentioned. Or if you live in a climate where you're able to plant outdoors, you want to fertilize them when you plant outdoors, because the bulbs need to store up all of those nutrients that I mentioned in the beginning of the video so that they can then produce flowers again next year. So, or next cycle if it's in the springtime for you. So that is that for forcing Paperwhite Narcissus indoors and enjoying their lovely blooms. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.